Welcome to Rving in New England, the nation's only forum that puts you on stage with some of the biggest names in the RV industry. This program is brought to you by Lee's Family Trailer Sales and Service, one of America's fastest growing RV dealerships. And now your hosts, John DePietro and Bob Zagami.
Welcome to RVing in New England, and I forgot to put up this. I'm having some mouse problems this morning. I'll blame it on the mouse. Don't forget, folks, Lee's Family Trailer Sales is Camping World of Windham, Maine, and our sponsor for this week, and their last segment will be next week. So,
Bob,
2 weeks in a row, John. Forgot to hit go live.
Yeah, and you just said our sponsor this morning is
this afternoon.
You just, but you know what? Look, it makes no difference what date it is, because when you're RVing, time stands still, or it flies when you're on vacation.
Well, if you're relaxing, wonder where our friends are. I don't have any.
Well, no, I saw that Mark Polk is here. Gary Edgar is watching. Mark Polk is watching.
Oh, I got Walter
Swenson is there.
You must have a better feed than I have.
No, actually, you know what? This is so funny because we're broadcasting on Facebook. I'm watching over on Facebook Live. We have 10 people watching. Mark is watching. Gary Edgar's watching. Mark Polk, Walter Swenson, Jim Conboy, Ken Donald, Jerry Plant. Open mic. Jerry Plant says, I have a great joke.
You got a
great joke.
A great joke? Well, you'll have to figure out a way to type it in, Jerry. Good evening, Mark. Good evening, Don. So all they get tonight is me and you on an open mic and various conversations.
You say that all they get is me and you on an open night. The fact is, they don't get just me and you. They get themselves. And it has been proven over and over and over again that this is the most educated RV show audience in the world, not just New England, because you know what? We got to change the name of the show. And we have an anniversary of show coming up. We've got to change it to RVing from New England, because it's not just about RVing in New England.
All right, so let's see how our fans react to that. So those of you who are out there, do you think we should change it from RVing in New England to RVing from New England?
Okay, those are one choice. The third choice is, or should we change it to the John DePietro RV Hour?
I'd vote no on that one.
We've got no change.
I'd vote no on that. Yeah.
RVing from New England or the John DePietro RVing Hour. Folks,
you may not get any votes for that. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but you may not get any votes for that.
Bob, I got family watching.
Greetings.
I've got family watching. They're on the payroll.
Huh? You got who?
I've got family watching.
Oh,
and they're on the payroll.
Okay.
Oh, Dawn, come on. Jim Roy, no change.
They might want the Bob Zagami.
Look, I just said some nice things to Bob about Dawn and Mark Polk, and Dawn says, no, John.
See? So
I retract.
But as you said before, we have a very astute audience.
I retract. Yeah, but I'm going to have to retract that statement about that being an intelligent audience. Because if they don't want me to be the headliner for this show, how smart can they be?
Well, that's true. Hey, Bill Sell threw out one of the first questions earlier today when we asked, if somebody had some stuff. Which one?
Bill Sell writes, RV in New England with Bob Zagami and Timeout Johnny D.
Frank, no change.
Oh, man. I'm just seeing so many comments.
Lisa, are you in Nebraska? She's got an NE on there. She must be traveling.
Or New England. No. RVing from New England. RVing from New England, Bob. NE stands for New England.
Well, it would, but she's always in New England. So, she's up here in Maine.
Right, because that's why she was responding to the query that we had about, would you change the show to RVing in New England or RVing from New England?
No, she's in Braintree. Okay, so she did mean New England.
John and Bob are a fabulous team. Okay, Dawn, you're halfway back.
Nobody knew where New England was. I mean, Braintree was. Bear with me. I got to raise up my computer. I don't like the way I'm looking up at the ceiling and what have you.
Yeah, you are. You're looking at the ceiling. So, Bob,
much better.
When you and I were having a conversation this morning about topics to talk about tonight, the term, and let's get into it right now. And we'll watch these. We'll watch the monitor with these.
Yep.
And when all of my votes, see, my people are late voters, so they're like the West Coast voters, the ones that are voting for me. Talk about this thing called dynamic pricing. You want to talk about that now, because that's a topic that this audience is very astute about.
Well, it's a very interesting one, and for those that don't know dynamic pricing, these are some of the companies that practice it. So it's being used, and if you weren't aware of it, but it's a practice of supply and demand. As the demand for a product increases, so also does the price. So if you happen to log into their reservation system and they got 80 seats left on the airplane, you're going to get one price. And if you tune in the next day and there's 5 seats, that same seat is going to be more expensive.
Right.
And we're starting to see it come into campgrounds now.
Right. And you know what? Even the Red Sox practice dynamic pricing, because a Red Sox Yankee ticket is more expensive. On a Wednesday night in July, a Red Sox Yankee ticket is going to be more expensive than a Red Sox Toronto Blue Jays ticket, because the demand,
right. Yeah. Yep.
The demand is greater. And you know what? It's probably a good time to discuss this right now, because all the talk is about how hard it's going to be to get a campground. Now, most campgrounds have made up their pricing for 2021 probably back in the fall of 2020, not knowing what the deal is going to be like. And I think even our friends.
Time out. May has entered the room, but she's going to stay out of the picture tonight. She's staying on the other side of the desk, and she votes. She thinks we should change the name of the show to RVing in America. So all of you who would like to comment on May's suggestion of RV in America, if you think that might be a good topic for us, you let us know.
What are we going to do with all these shirts?
Huh?
Hey, don't let him. I heard her laugh. Hey, May, that means you're going to get another 200 shirts.
You're already complaining about all the RV shirts.
You're going to get another 200
I threw a bunch of them out when we moved. So what are you going to do?
And since you guys are semi-homeless.
Oh, Walter Swenson says good name, and Walter's very smart. So,
yep.
Walter likes that. Don Polk says hi, May. Mark Polk says price gouging. Mark thinks dynamic pricing is price gouging. Well, I don't know. That's an interesting thought, but it's free enterprise. It's America, and if people are willing to, we've been doing. I don't even think of it anymore. If it's an airline and I happen to be late making a reservation, I assume I'm going to pay more. Same thing with a car rental.
No, and cars itself. Now, I do some work at a Kia dealership, and Kia has this Telluride, which is similar to the Hyundai Palisade. It's the big SUV.
That's a nice looking vehicle. That's a nice looking vehicle.
Right, and you know what? At a local dealership, if you want, they have 3 of them over there. One of them is selling for $15,000 over sticker. The other is selling for $7,000 over sticker. And the third one is selling for $5,000 over sticker. That is supply and demand. Now, let's talk about the RV industry. Campgrounds, just like an like an airplane, and just like a hotel, they only have a finite number of rooms that they can sell at any particular time. In a campground, it's space. So if you took supply and demand, like should 4th of July cost more than, July 20th, that type thing. There are going to be, because right now I did an interview with a company today, and they have some clients that are housing development people that are now getting big time. They've got 4 RV luxury resorts being built in Florida right now as we speak. They'll be open in the fall. Okay. They are going to be pricing their product based upon the demand. So summertime in Florida, it's going to be less than January, February, March in Florida.
Yeah, and it's hard to get anything in Florida these days, whether it's a regular house or whether it's an RV park. So, they're going to take command of it.
What do
Dana,
you guys think of? What do
Dana
you
Neal
guys think of that?
Dana Neal Hext, I think that's a new fan. Thanks for joining, Dana. Says no, it's capitalism. That's correct. It
Yep.
is. It's free
Yep.
enterprise. It's capitalism, and take advantage of it. And if it doesn't work for them, they're not going to do it. In other words, if they do it and they have the wrong algorithm in there, and they price it so high that people don't make reservations there, they'll quickly change the algorithm and get it down. But as far as supply and demand, I don't have a problem with it. I don't know.
Yep. Another thing, Bob, is this. They're going to, that same property in Florida, December is going to be higher than May. However, the week between Christmas and New Year's is going to be higher.
Yep.
Are we still allowed to say Christmas?
Yes, we are. We are.
Okay.
We haven't obliterated our holiday schedule yet.
Okay, I know they're working on that.
How will we?
They're working on that, but
New England deal is, I assume that's Michelle on there. New England says makes sense, but smaller and less sophisticated campgrounds won't be able to keep up. Well, they can keep up. I think this fallacy that bigger is better is kind of crazy. The big ones are populated, but the small ones, whether it be a campground or a small RV dealer, they give better service. They give personal service. They know their customers better, and they don't necessarily need dynamic pricing. The large resorts do, because they got much higher overhead than a small mom and pop campground that's been there for 20 or 30 years. They may not have all the amenities, but people like that. There's plenty of campers out there that don't want to go to a resort, that don't want to go. As good as Normandy Farms is, it's wonderful, but there's a lot of people that don't want all that activity in their campground and all those kids around. They might want a small adults only campground that's quiet. The one that we used to be in, Wild Duck Campground up here in Scarborough, very quiet, 50 sites, no problems, no pools, no games, just the trees and the woods and the main salt marsh.
Yep. But nevertheless, it's something worth talking about. Let me throw up another question. And I put this on another Facebook group this afternoon, and the comments I got back were amazing. We own a house at Cape Cod, and we have a large driveway, a large flat driveway. And my wife had said a couple of years ago, we should put up a plug for RVs to, for ourselves.
Put a pedestal out there.
Right. Okay. So I put that question up, and somebody said, hey, you better check your homeowner's insurance. You better check the zoning. You better check the town regulations, etc. Let's ask our viewers right now. If you lived in a resort area, would you ever consider putting space up in your yard forget the hookups, forget the water, sewer, because you don't want to encourage anybody taking that sewer hose out. You don't know what's going to happen after that. Would you ever, for money, because like Cape Cod, for example, it's virtually impossible to get an RV spot. Would you ever rent space in your yard?
Well, something like that would go through Hip Camp, but I wonder if you're starting to see something like that on Airbnb. Has any of our fans out there, have any of you ever searched Airbnb to find a trailer rental or something in somebody's backyard, or somebody that may have a trailer such as what John's talking about, that if they're not going away, they rent it? Because
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Because RV rentals are starting to show up on Airbnb and VRBO. So that's a possibility.
Yeah, I know in our case with our house, if we rent it less than 2 weeks a year, then we don't have to change the insurance.
Walter agrees with me on the Airbnb, but he also says he's reviewed 4 of them in Florida. Now, when you say 4, Walter, you're talking about 4 opportunities to park in somebody's driveway versus an RV resort or a campground.
I read 4 of them in Florida on Airbnb. I don't know what he means. Now, Jerry says that's basically what Boondockers Welcome is. That's correct, Walter. I mean, Jerry, but those are at no cost. I'm talking about, I'm not crazy about renting our house because it's our house. It's not a rental property. It's just like in Bob's case, if Bob was going to be in Florida for the summer for a period of time, he's in Old Orchard Beach. Would you ever rent your property out to anyone else?
I wouldn't.
Exactly. I mean, I've got my pictures of it. It's not like it's a 3-decker that I bought for rental purposes. Jim Conboy says no. Walter says, yes, I've reviewed for them. Driveway parking. Okay, Walter, driveway parking at a fee or driveway parking because you're a nice person and you say, come on in and use my driveway? No, I have done that before where I've bumped into people, up in Old Orchard, not up in Old Orchard, up at, what do you call that place? LL Bean, where they were nice people. We knew some people in common. I said, look, before you head back to, Georgia or Texas, if you're going to Cape Cod, use my driveway. Nobody's going to be there. That's one thing. I'm not charging them. But am I in a situation where if they trip on my driveway and get hurt, am I liable? What do you all know about that? I don't know the answers to these questions, folks.
Well, Walter brings up another good point. If you go into Airbnb or some of those other agencies, there's another fee attached to it.
Yep.
Walter says $78 to $145 a night to park in somebody's driveway. Man,
was that like right across the street?
I think I park in a Walmart.
Yeah. Well, unless it was right across the street from the Daytona racetrack.
Okay, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Airbnb insurance covers. Now that's very good. That's very interesting. Airbnb. Okay.
Michelle says create a rental agreement even if no cost. Well, that's not a bad idea in terms of, how your liability is, but it depends on how much you want to tell your insurance company also.
Yeah. I mean, we've let family use the house, but even one family members on my wife's side, I should say, brought a dog with them, and they scratched all their furniture because they went away and left the dog in the house, and the dog went nuts.
Yep. So Ryan Hadley, and Ryan's a very busy man. I've sent him a couple of service people that find my number and call me up and think I'm a service tech. So I send him over to Ryan. It says supply and demand works in some businesses, but not the service industry, because it's not fair to price gouge on demand. As far as sales, it's game on with the demand. I'm going to disagree with you, Ryan. Hotels are the service industry. Airplanes are service industries. And they continue to get that price, and people continue to come back and rent them. What do you think on that, John?
But he says as far as the sales game, it's game on with the demand. So you could say that hotels sell a room. I mean, they sell the use of the room for the night. But it's kind of like what we've gotten used to. And the biggest thing that whenever there's a change in anything, people are reluctant to deal with it at first. I heard somebody say that the only people that welcome change are babies with wet diapers. But look at if you break down on a highway, does the towing company charge you more to go out onto the highway than if you and if it was during the day and you were right near the station? I don't know. Good question. Let's see what our audience has to say about that, and whether they feel that RV service is a product that could be changing in pricing. Hey,
let me tell a quick story. It's service related, not necessarily RV related, but it shows you the difference between some of the stupid things we do in Massachusetts and some of the better things they do in Maine. On the way back from Indiana, May's transponder for Easy Pass wasn't working. So we stop at the rest area, the first one in Lee's or Lee's.
Yep.
When you come across the border, they have a registry motor vehicle.
Yep.
Customer service center.
Yep.
Very important words. Customer service center, right in the travel plaza.
Yep.
So she goes in, and there is a sign out front that says by appointment only. But she goes in, and she's got the transponder in the hand. The woman says, "Can I help you?" She says, "I got this issue." She says, "Do you have an appointment?" Very rude. "Do you have an appointment?" She says, "No." She says, well, you have to have an appointment to come here. And she says, there is nobody else in the building except me and you. Why can't you just, she says, no, you have to have an appointment. You'll have to leave. So she left, didn't get it fixed. So we drove around for another couple of weeks. Now we're up here. We go to the main registry today, and they say, what do you need? Well, it's broken. Okay, so it's broken. She says, well, you can't. Do you live in Maine? Or I said, well, now we do. She had her fill out an application, and she had a new transponder in less than 5 minutes. And there were 3 people in the office. We were the only ones that were doing it. So customer service in Massachusetts, what we didn't think of as we got on the highway and we were both, livid about it, is we should have gone to the phone, called up,
made the appointment.
I'd like an appointment in 5 minutes at the least. I'm on my way down to Mass Pike. We weren't thinking quick enough. We were, at the end of a, 1,000-mile trip there. So
I would have just picked my phone up right there in that lady's presence.
Yeah,
made the appointment.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
but people pay for services rendered. The problem is we pay in Massachusetts and we don't get the services rendered.
Yeah, and let's go back to we haven't really looked at our questions here. You want to go right back to the start?
Yeah,
Walter says
on Boondockers Welcome. Is that driveways? I thought that would be like out in the cornfield or
no, it's yards.
It's yards.
It's yards and driveways.
Yards and driveways, and is that no charge or do you pay? That's a no charge.
No charge.
Okay.
No charge.
Okay.
Okay. Dawn says hello. Howdy. What's up, Bill Sell? Good evening, Jim Conboy. No. Don't know what the answer was. No change. Oh, don't change the name. Hi, Bob. Dana met you yesterday, Bob, at Sandy Pines.
Oh, Dana. Okay,
She's from Texas.
That's right. Yep.
That's where all my exes
Dana,
live.
I'm sorry, Dana. That Neil threw me off. Dana is a graduate of the National RV Training Academy and inspections. She does inspections, and she's also a girl camper guide. So she came up to Sandy Pines, where I had the pleasure of talking to a group of girl campers. Janine and I did kind of a Q&A session with them and had a wonderful time and got a chance to talk about NRBTA and RVTI and all things about RVing. And they were really good questions from the ladies. And, there was some horror stories there too. They just, some of them didn't have good experiences. Big challenge for a lot of them was parking and backing up. Backing up is still an issue. Yep.
Oh, I have that same thing. I don't like backing up. I'll go through a pull. Get me a pull through any day.
But John, you get a motorhome.
I know it.
You don't have a travel in a trailer.
I know it. Still backing up.
Don Polk says Diane and Kim said the girl camper event was going well. That's all they said, was just going well? I thought it was outstanding.
Richard Robinson woke up from his nap in St. Cloud, Florida. That's near Kissimmee, right? Kissimmee, St. Cloud. Richard Robinson.
I never heard of St. Cloud, Florida.
Yeah, I think it's near Kissimmee. Yeah, I think it's right near Kissimmee. Ryan and Adley, Mark Polk, Prouse Gouging, Dawn, Hi May, Walter Swenson, good name. Lint Lisa. I wish to be semi-homeless someday, John. Yep. No, it's capitalism, Dana says. See, that's the difference between New England and Florida. New England, everybody kind of wants to divide up the pie.
Yeah.
And Florida, they believe in. Not Florida, Texas.
Did you see Walter's comment? Ask a car dealer, service department. Last year, all the oil change for my truck was $145, and now it's $258. No real change other than demand for their service. It is big. Majors just went up on their labor rate. The market will bear it when you can't get service to use your campers this season. I told David a year ago to raise his rates. I mean, number one, you're excellent service department. And number two, you're a little bit low on scale.
Dairy plant, they already do the different rates. Yeah, weekends, holidays. Now,
so I think Jerry's talking about responding to somebody's question about harvest. Well, there's 2 questions there. Harvest hosts, the charge is $99 to join for the year, but do not pay pay when you go to a host location.
Right.
Lisa says, do you need a reservation for a Harvest Host spot or just show up? It has always been, you cannot just show up, period. You would call ahead that day, talk to the host and see if they have a space, because some of them have only one space, some have 3 or 4 spaces. But Joel he's in a beta testing right now of a reservation system where you can, in fact, put in a request for a reservation, and some of the host locations are tying into that reservation system. So you would have a reservation, you wouldn't have to go through a phone call, because some of these are mom and pop businesses, small wineries or breweries.
Yep.
They may be out picking grapes. They may not be in the office. So you might get a telephone machine and hope that they'll call you back. I know we've had that happen a couple of times when we've been on the road.
Yep. And if they're first generation Italian Americans, not only are they picking the grapes, you might go back there and find them stomping on them in a big metal bucket.
Yeah.
But Bob, let's talk about Joel Holland for a second, because he is really a visionary. When you look at
wait, I gotta cut you off. Walter says no more topics for John. John, Walter wants to discuss repair event cycle time in the RV industry. Latest data was showing this number getting worse starting last October, started to improve in January, February, but not hearing much about that anymore, even though it was being highlighted last year. That's an excellent question. I won't say it got kind of put on hold during the pandemic, but they were not paying a lot of attention to it. They're just getting back into it now. But one of the things that has been a challenge, because it's going to be driven by the 3 major software companies that RV dealers use in putting the data in, is now, because of the component supplier shortages, they want to try to figure out a way that you can pull some of those dates out if you're waiting 2 weeks for a part. Now, I don't think that's necessarily the right way to do it. The whole intent on this is, how long did it take a consumer to get their RV fixed from the time they bring it in and they write the service order to the time you pick it up? There could be 100 different variables as to what delays that. But if we don't see that total picture, I want to see if it took 2 months. I want to see that it took 2 months. And I think the only way we'll have validation with consumers in RV is if they see the real number there. If it was there for 60 days and somebody can say, well, I was waiting for parts for 30 days, so it was only here for 30 days. Well, I don't know what calendar they use. It was there for 60 days. I don't care how you calculate it. It was 60 days. So for those who are not familiar with repair event cycle time, it is an initiative of the RV industry to try to get a handle on what's the impact on not having enough technicians, what's the impact on warranty issues where a dealer is having an aggressive discussion with a manufacturer about who's going to pay for what. What's the issue if you can't get the part? If it's an old part, it's still a work in progress. But I would give them a break and say we have to take the last year out of the equation. They're just getting back into it. They're starting to revisit it. The software companies have modules that they are testing with the dealers.
Okay, but I would respectfully disagree with you that we can't give them a pass on this. We can, but we can't. Okay,
I'm not giving them a pass.
Well, you said something about, we've got to take out COVID's, and all the shortages. Okay.
Well, nothing. The point there was nothing was reported. A lot of the reporting wasn't done. So for a start date, when we start to look and analyze the difference quarter to quarter, year to year, I don't think we should do it in 2020. That's my point there.
Walter brought up a good point. But you got to keep in mind also, and Bob, we go over this every week when we're doing the Camper Report show with the sales figures, going crazy with triple digit increases. What is going to be the attitude of the first time RV buyer who encounters a maintenance issue on their first or second trip and is told that we can't see you in for 2 weeks? And even when we see you for 2 weeks and find out a part's not available, but you know what? we've gotten to the point where we had to dig down into your unit that you can't use it now. So it's not like come back in 2 weeks. So now that first-time RVer that has seen the Go RVing ads and seen all the ads and heard how glorious camping is,
yep,
they can't use their camper. Okay, that is going to be frustrating for some new people. And although I was wrong last year, I said there's going to be a lot of campers available this year for people that didn't like it last year. I think all the studies show that 56% of those people, or even more than that, I think it was like 65 or 6% of people that bought one last year are glad that they did and would do it again.
Yeah,
but,
it's too early. I think they want to get a couple of years under it. But we had a woman at Sandy Pines, part of the Girl Camper group, yesterday, who bought a brand new small trailer from a dealer in New England who is not a member of NRVDA, and I understand why. Her PDI, her walkthrough on the trailer was about 15 minutes and did not include instructions on how to hook it up to the hitch. Well,
I mean, that's almost criminal.
I mean,
that's almost criminal from the aspect of that if somebody does not hook it up properly and they're on the Mass Pike or they're on the Connecticut Turnpike or they're anywhere, and that trailer dislodges from the towing unit, number one, you can flip the tow truck, you can flip the tow vehicle, but you can kill other people. So
thankfully her husband knew how to hook up trailers and what have you, but again, we talk about that a lot. They have to train them better. Audrey Foley Egan, nice to see you, Audrey. We lucked out recently. Our ATS crapped out on us. We were able to get a new ATS from Amazon.com, and we found a mobile RV guy local that squeezed us into his schedule, and he fixed us up. No dealer ever would have turned us around within a week for that. ATS. What is that?
Automatic
tire system? What are you referring to?
Audrey, tell us what ATS is. And Audrey, if you want to tell us, I mean, since it's a good report, tell us who that mobile RV guy was.
Right.
Maybe we know him.
Jerry says he's still having problems getting parts. I think everybody is. I can tell you a story.
Auto transfer switch. What's that mean? What's that mean?
Automatic transfer. On the propane tanks, Ryan. The automatic I call that a changeover, but automatic unless it's a transfer switch for a generator to get switched over.
Walter is right. No shore power. Okay.
Generator. Okay. So it's the transfer switch on the generator. Okay. Yep. Lisa says, you're scaring me. If I'm living in my RV and can't get service or parts, oops, it moved up on me. I lost her. What am I supposed to do? Keep still, no choice. Well, it's not that bad, but we like to make sure that people understand that these are hand-built machines and things do go wrong. And that's why we want that repair event cycle time, because we want the industry to be accountable when somebody has a problem, that they get it fixed, they get it fixed quickly, and they get it fixed professionally with the right number of technicians and the qualified technicians.
Yep. So
you don't have to be afraid of it, Lisa, because there's 10 million people on the road every day in an RV.
Audrey, tell us. Audrey, name names. Name names, Audrey. Don't forget, I have your massive channel locks still here. I know who Walter's talking to.
I don't know. He doesn't have any channel locks for me, so
no.
Maybe Audrey. I don't know.
I'm guessing it was Ryan Hadley. I'm guessing it was Ryan only because of Ryan. Was it you? Ryan's here because he knew what the product was. He knew what the problem was. I'm guessing it was Ryan.
Well, that's because Ryan's pretty sharp.
Well,
Laturco's with us. Everything could be timing, but in our travel,
it was Ryan.
Yeah. Okay. So Ed Laturco says everything could be timing, but in our travel to and from Stowe, Vermont, for 4 days, we witnessed the lowest number of any size RV. Five up and two returning. What could the cause of this, as we usually would see multiple rigs? I would say the cause of it, Ed, maybe the date you went, and people are staying longer when they are going out. Because I just came back from Indiana, and I was talking to John on the way out. I was out with family, and both on the way out and the way back, what I found interesting was there was an incredible number of RVs, every size and shape, but it's a little bit distorted on the Mass Pike because that's the route that they use coming out of Elkhart. So a lot of those are deliveries. They weren't necessarily, consumers. But the thing that surprised me and the sleeper in all of this supply chain problem is trucks and drivers. I would say on some hours, 9 out of 10 vehicles going down the other side of the highway were 18-wheel trucks, or the side that I was on.
What
And
time of night?
Incredible.
What time of day?
Yep. Morning and afternoon.
Yeah.
But we have an incredible shortage of CDL drivers in this country. And that's how these parts get from the ships that are coming in on the East Coast and the West Coast. That's how they're getting to Elkhart and Goshen. And, some of these trucking companies, they're starting people at $75,000, $100,000 a year to drive an 18-wheeler. So if somebody's in between jobs or doesn't know what they want to do and they get a CDL license, they can spend the next year driving trucks around the country and making a hell of a living because they need a lot of them.
18 wheels and a dozen roses.
Right.
Now, do we have a break at 7:30, which was 8 minutes ago?
Was it 8 minutes ago?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. I'll do it. I'll do it real quick.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah. Our sponsor for the last 6 months has been Lee's Family Trailer Sales, and they are now Camping World of Windham, Maine. And we'll give a little plug to our friends over at Flag RV, who are now Camping World of Uxbridge, Mass, and Camping World of Boylston, Mass. So Camping World now has 7 locations in New England and looking for more.
So if you own an RV dealership that you don't want to own anymore, call Bob Zagami and he'll put you in touch with Marcus Lemonis. And then we'll split.
I'll call Marcus directly for him. I'm a nice guy.
We'll split the money.
Yeah.
So Ryan says it wasn't him. So I don't know what the deal is on that, but Audrey may have left us. But what else? Walter, what else you want to talk about since you took over the show? But that was a good topic.
Well, Ryan says my demand goes up for people with certain things not working, such as fridge or water heater, versus someone's awning not working because of usability. Well, why would you have a distinction, Ryan? You have an hourly rate, unless you plug certain products at a different rate. That's something that we haven't seen. What if RV dealers did that? Base their service. Well, I don't give them any ideas, but what if you drove in and you had a winterizing or something else, and that was at one rate, and then you say, well, my complex electronic system doesn't work, and all of a sudden the $125 an hour goes to $250 an hour. How's that for a good thought and discussion?
And let's add this equation, this twist into the equation. I know Majors for a fact saves a couple of appointments a day because they're located in a resort area versus somebody who might not be. And they get people from all over the country. Yep. Jerry, tell me if I'm correct on this. It used to be this way, that they build at least 2 drop-ins a day into the workload to handle that person who is from Texas and the refrigerator doesn't work. And I know Jerry said that we get them in if they give them some chili or a side of beef or some steaks.
Well, I think they leave one service bay empty, so that it's kind of one call. Yeah. Clarify that so that we don't confuse our fans on that. Because
sometimes it's a situation where, again, especially with new RV owners, a phone call can solve the problem. And I know Ryan has probably dealt with that, where people have called him and said this, this, and this. And Ryan said, did you check this? Did you check this? And did you check this? And he can solve the issue over the phone without having to drive 50 miles or so.
Let me change topics real quick while they report on that. One thing that we were going to do tonight was broadcast live or share screen for the Drab to Fab reveal of the Zinger trailer that the RV Women's Alliance has totally restored over the last, I want to say year, maybe a little bit more than a year. And they were having a reveal at the Hall of Fame tonight, and we couldn't go out. So they were going to do a Facebook Lives, and we were going to do a screen share. But as it turned out, they were at 6 o'clock. We were at 7 o'clock. So I did grab a couple of shots of the event. And at the end, they did have a 10 to 1 down countdown. And they recognized all the sponsors. They had a tremendous number of sponsors that participated with all kinds of parts. Eric Sell was one of the largest sponsors. And they did this at the pavilion in the new RV, or the new pavilion at the RV Hall of Fame. And that's a picture of the Zinger and some of the products that were in it. This is probably a better picture of it. And I had to take these screenshots off video, so that's why they're not clear. Here's
they are.
Of their kitchen, but they just did an outstanding. And you can see they had a nice crowd out there. And you see somebody there, videographer, and they did a nice job with that. So congratulations to them on doing that. And as part of that Zinger that I just showed you, oops, that's wrong one. What did I do? Where'd I go? Here it is. So if you take note of that going across the bottom, in fact, let me just, yeah, that's, I will put that in to the notes also. So now what is going to happen is you have 2 months, 60 days that you can buy raffles to win this travel trailer, completely restored, the latest equipment, the most fancy toys, new heating, air conditioning, everything. This was a totally restored. I'm talking. They took the skins off and went down to the studs and built this thing back up. So 60 days, you can enter a raffle to win this Zinger travel trailer. And our friends at Easy Care, when we had Walt Burns on a few months ago, jumped in on this and gave them a 1-year interior protection package and a 1-year exterior protection package for the Easy Care products. So congratulations to all of the women at the RVWA and the great job that they did in putting that program together. It was fantastic.
Looks great. And we should say that Bob and I are both members of the RVWA.
And I did, they just hired a new managing director, Jessica Ryder, who, if you might remember, we had her on about a month or 6 months ago. She has a website called Pull Through Sites, and she's keeping that company, but she is going to be the managing director. And she spoke out there tonight, and so they're going to get reorganized again because they couldn't do a lot of events last year because of pandemic. And we were one of the first. Actually, we were the first dealer association in the country. We did a cocktail reception for them at the AC Hotel in Worcester, Mass. And our good friend Mary Simone is the general manager. And if you need a hotel, go to Worcester and check out the AC Hotel. In fact, make it a weekend. Get a nice room at the AC Hotel.
Go to a Woo Sox game.
Exactly. Have dinner at the 110 Grill connected to the hotel, and go to a Woo Sox game, which is right around the corner. You can walk to it from the hotel. Yep. Yeah. So what else we got, John?
So we got a lot of questions here, that a lot of answers that, whatchamacallit, Audrey said the guy's name was KB Mobile Mechanic. It was not Ryan. Highly recommend. He was awesome, and rates are extremely reasonable. Okay, Ryan tells more about his situation here. If you're on the schedule and need an awning, but we have someone else who just got to the campground or is leaving tomorrow, and there's a fridge isn't working, or water heater or air conditioning is a little more important than worn fabric that needs to be replaced for someone going out in 2 weeks. So he keeps that in mind. I think that's a good idea.
That's nice that he has that flexibility. That's a good approach, Ryan.
Bob Zagami. Bill Sell says that Bob Zagami himself was my 911 emergency tech back a few years ago. He had sent me a couple of photos and instantly send him a couple of photos, and he instantly diagnosed a problem. Flip a switch and my problem was solved. Okay. Now, Walter asked, thank you. Walter is our program director for this show. How about jobs in the local RV industry? Any creative ideas for RV dealers hiring full-timers while they are in the area? Now, Walter, you mean full-timers from another part of the country that want to hang around for 3 months or so? Or, talk, or like work campers, like people that work down at the Cape, at the parks. To define that a little bit better, Walter. I know you're an engineer and you usually do a pretty good job. Yes. What do you mean, Walter? Yes. Walter answers yes.
Well,
I gave him 2 choices and he said yes.
I did write an article last year sometime about encouraging all RV dealers to hire not retired, but RVers in part-time positions to do the walkthroughs, the PDIs, to handle a lot of customer service functions. Because right now we've got a lot of businesses that don't hire people that are trained in their business. I don't care if it's a restaurant or a car dealer or an RV dealer. So I'd like to see RV dealers have a stable of RVers that they could call on to come in and do the customer walkthrough and the customer PDI. They're experienced, they do it every day.
Yep.
And it could be a work camper assignment. I'll talk to Steve Anderson at Work Camper News, and maybe we could put a little blurb in the Work Camper magazine.
And Bob,
every month.
We didn't we didn't discuss this before we went on the air, but let me give you another reason why that suggestion is valid, is because in most cases when I have seen a walkthrough conducted, the person conducting the walkthrough did not own an RV. So they knew what the parts were and they knew what it did, but they didn't know why it was done or how it interacted with something else. And, for example, how to put out an awning that's not an automatic, or even if it is an automatic awning, this is how you put it out. But maybe just the opportunity to tell that new RV buyer, make sure that you fully retract that awning if you're going to leave the campground to go into town or to go to the beach or to go to a hike, because I have seen a wind come up when it was unexpected. But somebody who's never owned an RV wouldn't know that. Anybody who's owned an RV and even using the dump system, it's the biggest issue that campground owners seem to say that RVers have. And you know what? There are certain little tricks that seasoned RVers have that somebody who's never RV'd before doesn't have. I think that makes sense. You guys agree with me on that? Walter, you agree with me on that? Jerry, salespeople doing a walkthrough don't get paid. Right. You know what? Salespeople doing a walkthrough don't get paid. What does that do, Jerry? It takes them off the floor. What does it do? It takes them off the floor and takes them away from the next opportunity to either answer the phone or greet that person on the lot. So anyway, what's Frank say?
Frank says,
Did the Airstream
dealer in Maine close the doors since they have no units for sale? Called them today and they said their staff and doors are still open. No, they're still open. That's true of almost every Airstream dealer. Every Airstream dealer in New England, we have 3 that sell Airstream trailers. They do not have any inventory. We have 1 that has the exclusive for motorized Airstream products. He's up here in Scarborough, Maine, and he has no new Airstream motor. He has not had any for 2 or 3 months on the product line. I mean, some Airstream models now are out almost 2 years before you will see the product. And this is after building a brand new factory. Their numbers are off the charts. And again, when we talked last week about Thor's backlog of $14.8 billion, a $10 billion company that has a 1-year backlog of $14.8 billion, which means they're going to sell, everything that they make is already sold. And the Winnebago third quarter earnings came out today. And Winnebago had almost $1 billion in sales in the third quarter. So Winnebago is getting very close to be a $4 billion company. You know what their backlog is, John?
$3 billion.
$3 $3.8 billion. They have
in backlog.
In backlog.
Yep.
So
And I've
almost
got that written down here. Third quarter revenue of 960 million. So almost $1 billion.
Yep.
Okay. But more importantly than that, they've got orders coming in or already in for $3 billion. That's triple what they've already sold.
Right.
Okay. Right. Now, the only thing that makes me more upset than that is a year and a half ago when you and I were flying back from the dealers meetings in Palm Springs for Winnebago.
Yep.
And their stock wasn't doing well. And then the shutdown came. If I had a brain in my head, a financial brain in my head, I would have bought the stock. But I didn't. I don't know what it is right now. Maybe Walter can look it up in the meantime and see what it's done in the past year. But if you bought stock in these companies when they were down, you're making some money right now.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, that Walter says that's assumed people will wait that long. Well,
some don't, or they find a new pre-owned one. Audrey says we had friends that brought a new trailer and were assured during their walkthrough that the awning was self-dumping in rain. I don't even think that's a feature, Audrey. First trip, Memorial Day weekend, pouring rain, and they discovered the awning was not self-dumping. Called the dealership and were told that the awning was for shade, not rain. That's true. That is exactly true. That is what the awning is for. When it rains, if you haven't angled your awning to let it run off and you let it puddle up there, and it will puddle up. If you have a level awning, you're asking for a disaster if it's raining, because it will, people, I see them in campgrounds. They go up underneath them and they hit the awning roof, and they think they're splashing all the water off. And then they go to bed, and all of a sudden you get a thunderstorm during the night, and the awning's on the ground in the morning. If you're leaving the campground, the awning should be up. You don't know what the wind and rain is. And if rain is in the forecast, sure, you can put a screen room on, and you can sit out there if it's a light rain, but it's a heavy rain and you haven't angled that awning. That's why you see when the campground, some of these are angled. They're angled for a reason, so the water will, in fact, run off the other side.
Okay, look what Algie wrote. He said their previous rig did have an awning that would drop and dump overflow.
I've never heard of it.
Nope.
I've never heard of it.
And unless they mean that it had a feature in it that there was some rain sensor that the awning retracted.
There are wind sensors.
Yeah.
If the wind gets above a certain level, they will retract the awning if you're away from the rig. Yeah. But I have never heard. Maybe Ryan can help us because he works on them a lot there. Or Jerry. Jerry would know. I'll bet Jerry would know that. Jerry says Winnebago stock is at $66. I think it was $12 when we left Palm Springs.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look at that. Yeah. But anyway, folks, you know what? Nights like this are great because, Bob, you and I get to learn. We get to learn how smart of an audience we have.
Right.
And that is really cool because we watch a lot of other shows, of our colleagues in the business. Ours is the only one that was really a talk show that we bring on a special guest every month. But when I watch the other shows, I see some questions asked that are so basic. And now you and I asked the question to our audience.
And they teach us.
From that. So you know what, folks? There's a lot of things that you could be doing for our live audience. I'm addressing this too. There's a lot of things that you could be doing on a beautiful Wednesday night in the summer tonight, in the fact that you have chosen to spend your time with us. And more importantly, to lend your expertise to thousands of other people. It shows that you're a good person. And you know what? We joke a lot, but I appreciate this audience, and I know Bob does as well.
Yes, absolutely. Audrey did post the name of the KB mobile mechanic, and we'll talk to, if that's his Facebook page. I'll get in touch with him, see if he wants to join NERVDA like Ryan Hadley did. So we're trying to get more of these independent and mobile reps organized and
folks, I will tell you this: they're not competing with the dealership. The dealership doesn't have the number of people that they need. And when I say dealership, I mean places like majors as well that are, service oriented. But so let's find out, Bob. We got just a couple minutes left. If people just want to type in where they're heading for 4th of July.
Yeah, it's good point.
Where are you heading for geographically, where you're heading specifically for the campground. And if you have a chance, say, have you tried to go somewhere and found out that you couldn't get an RV spot, couldn't get a campground spot? So you can do that in the next couple of minutes. In the meantime, Bob is going to talk about, what was it that we said that you're going to talk about? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Airbnb.
I don't remember either. But if anybody's going to be up in Old Orchard Beach or up in Maine, let me know. I'm available. Always, we gotta get back to Susan, our bagel lady, so we can get the beach bagel.
Oh, that's right.
Where are you going? Where are you going July 4th?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know what? That's a good question.
I put mine up there.
It's a good question because in a couple of weeks, next week, I'm going out to Elkhart for our friends at Fuller RV to do some work for them. They've got a bunch of motorhomes out there that are finally done, ready to come back, that were promised in March, but they're getting them now at the end of June. And you know what? The manufacturers is not important, but this is what they're dealing with. This is what dealers are dealing with. And I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago when we had our friend on, Ray Panzino. They had 5 price increases on that particular unit that I'm driving back. They placed the order in January. It was supposed to be ready in March, and 5 price increases later, they're getting it. And they said there's only so much they can absorb locally, internally, before they have to raise the rental rates on it. So I don't know what I'm doing because it'll depend how long it takes me to get back from Elkhart. I know Walter Swenson could probably drive it in an hour and a half, even though it is 850 miles.
So we're still going to see you next Wednesday, though. You're going to pull off the side of the road in Cracker Barrel or Walmart and join us from the road, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll be here Wednesday. And, Wednesday night, I'll be probably, because I get there Wednesday morning, pick it up, I'll probably be like in Ohio or Pennsylvania.
So you do one of those Ohio rest areas.
Yeah, if we get one of those Ohio rest areas, I'll try to get the most easterly one. And by the way, if anybody is heading out through the state of Ohio and is going through there onto another place, keep in mind that Ohio has 4 rest areas, 4 east and 4 west, with full, with RV hookups.
Yep. So Lisa's going to be in New Hampshire with friends who have land and a rig parked up there. The Turco's working on getting up to Maine after the holiday weekend. Okay, we look forward to seeing you up here, Ed.
Woodstock, New York.
Jerry Jerry says had to pick my second campground choice just once. So he's having good luck on his first ones. Frank is staying down at Cape Cod. Walter booked in February. Did he tell us where? I don't know. My back.
Walter booked 4th of July weekend. He booked it back in February.
Bill Sell's going to be in his backyard. Well, if you would buy an RV, Mr. Sell, you could get out of your backyard. How's that?
Yeah.
Ed says he learns a lot from the audience. Okay, Jerry posted a link there. Pickcontrol.com, automated awning shade wiring for rain sensor. So there is a rain sensor. I knew Jerry would know that answer. Yeah.
Where did you see that? I didn't see that.
Right under Lisa, where Lisa says maybe I should buy stock instead of the RV. That's not a bad idea, Lisa. 756. Jerry says he posted a website for an automated awning shade wiring for a rain sensor. Okay, that's good, Jerry, but you're the mechanic and you're the guy that inspects all these things. Would you ever recommend somebody trust a rain sensor on an awning on an RV?
Yeah. Hey, Bob, look what time it is.
What, 8 o'clock?
Past.
Oh, man. Right. Bill says 5-year wait list for Mercedes-Benz Airstream, or maybe John still lend me his. Yeah, no, it's not a 5-year wait list, but we are getting close to 2 on some of them, and especially on custom manufacturers. All right, we are at 8 o'clock. We appreciate you joining. We should do this more often. Always fun to learn from our fans, our great fans here in New England, around the country. Dana, thank you very much for joining us, and maybe we'll have Dana on the show one time. She does a great job with her inspections, and she's just getting her business going, having graduated.
And Bob, maybe we should change the title of these shows. Instead of Ask Us Anything, can we ask you anything? Can we ask you, our audience, our great audience? And
instead of ask us anything, how about answer my questions, please?
Something like that.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you folks next Wednesday, 7 o'clock.
Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you from the room.
This edition of RVing in New England was brought to you by Lee's Family Trailer Sales and Service, one of America's fastest growing RV dealerships, and was a presentation of the New England RV Dealers Association. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.